Hey, thanks for joining in on this video with me here. I've got a product review that I'm going to do. This isn't a product I'm a dealer for, but it's a product that I got in contact with a guy, and they were looking for product testers. So specifically for an LED bulb to go into the halogen projectors on the cross trucks. Now there's a lot of things back and forth on, I guess, even legalities on whether you can run an LED and a projector and this and that. And a lot of the companies, what they're doing is they're creating the LED, the location of the bulb so that it matches the light output of, a halogen bulb. I don't know. These could very well not be street legal to be in this setup. So use at your own risk. And I know some of that stuff varies state to state too. So this is an Auxito LED light. They are an H11 upgraded replacement, and they were provided to me to do a review on and to test out. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to get them in. I've already, before I started my introduction, I went for a drive that'll show up after my introduction here on my regular lights, my fog lights, and I'm going to put these in, and then we're going to do basically the same drive again and see how they go. And then assuming that I'm going to keep them in, which hopefully they work well, and I do, then it's something that I can follow up on from a longevity standpoint. So this again is just going to be on the Auxito LED headlamp replacement. I know many of you are waiting for more reviews on some of the dark defense stuff, and I'm going to do that. I got some things in the works. I probably should have just done one a long time ago, but it's coming. I'm making some changes to my setup, and once I get that done, then we're going to do that video also, so stay tuned for that. But for now, let's get these guys in and see how they work. So this here is OEM halogen headlights with my diode dynamics fog lights. So since what we're focused on here is the headlights, I'm going to turn off the fog lamps, and we'll leave those off for the duration of the testing with both sets of headlights here. So I'm going to go just pull out onto my road, which is a pretty dark road, and we're just going to run up the street a little bit. You can get an idea of what the OEM headlights look like here. I'm not used to driving without my fog lamps on. The fog lamps really help out. But these headlights, you can see street signs fairly far down the road. It's just not super well illuminated that far. Now I'm going to turn my fog lamps back on, because I guess it will be good to kind of compare the fog lamps and the headlamps, since that's how I normally drive anyway. So as I'm thinking through that, we'll do that on the way back. So this is the fog lamps and the halogen OEM headlamps. And you can see the fog lamps definitely fill things in. Okay, so before I shut the car off here, I'm going to make another point here, and that's beam pattern. So you can see obviously the headlights are the white You can see their concentration and kind of their beam pattern. You can see the yellow from the fog lamps is a much wider beam to the left in this shot, and flat and narrow, that's the fog lamp. And so when you talk about or see, the vendors that are making these distinctions between a off-road light that is a spot or a wide cornering or a flood or a combo, right? So this is what we're talking about, is the beam pattern. So the fogs you see are going to be very wide, and that's how they get kind of that wider field of vision, because they're a flat wide beam. Where your headlamps are more of a spot style, I guess, if you will, but you'll see these halogens, so they're very cut off here on the top. An LED is even more cut off. That's why you get such a pronounced into your field of vision on the LED lights, and that has to do with the projector and the way the lens is built and how it's projecting the light. Now, before anybody asks, okay, so let's talk about beam pattern, because over here I've got this wonky sideways beam on my passenger side fog lamp. That fog lamp in my passenger side position has actually been rotated this way a little bit, so that beam is kind of going right this direction. So that's something on my list that I need to get addressed to get that back level. So beam pattern. So this is what it looks like on the factory halogens with the projector beams. So we're going to jump into it now and try these other lights and see how they turn out. Okay, so having done this kind of a change before, I know the low beam is right back here. It's pretty tight. You're not really going to be able to see it, even it's going to be dark. It's a simple twist. You twist it counterclockwise and the bulb, the whole system comes right off and pops back. Now, on the passenger side, we have a breather box in the way. So you end up really needing to take this piece off, which comes off relatively simple. We'll do that in a second. I'm going to do the driver's side first, and then again, talking about beam pattern, we're going to turn them on and look at the two different beam patterns, see what they look like. So let me get this one in, and then we'll see what they look like. So I open the box up here, and immediately looks like they've sent me a set of gloves. So having worked with stuff like this before, I know heat and fingerprints, your oils from your fingers can cause things to expand and cause problems. Halogen bulbs, for example, can even burst with oils. So I'm sure that that's what that's about. Packaging. So one of these is a little out of the package. But other than that, looks good. Hopefully that one being a little jostled out isn't a major problem. So we're going to take a quick look at the instructions and make sure we know what we're doing here correctly. I'm sure it's straightforward. I've done an H11 light bulb swap before. I can't imagine it's any different, but we'll do that and get right back to it here. Okay, so here's the two next to each other. Now again, I'm not making claims here as to what's street legal, what's not, what's legal in your state, what's not. But what I can tell you is you take a look at these two from where the seals are. Okay, so seal to seal here, and you can see, get rid of the glare on that bulb, where that filament is on the original is the exact same position as the LED. Now of course the LED isn't giving off light in kind of a full 360, because there's a diode on each side, but you know, it's in basically the exact same position. Turn them on now. So I got the driver's side is the LED. Ooh, that's a bit of a difference in the intensity of the bulb there. You can see that's definitely that bulb versus this one here. Now, what's important though, I think, is let's look at this with the lights off. It looks to me like that beam pattern is pretty consistent with the OEM, just brighter. Yeah, it's got a bit more kind of disbursement up, but not a lot. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, if these are going to cause me to get flashed quite a bit. You know, it looks pretty similar. It is definitely more intense on the front, obviously, from an illumination standpoint. It's much whiter. You know, the halogen is a warmer light. You know, looking at it from the standpoint of like a passing car, you know, I can't quite tell yet. So as I mentioned before, to get the other side in here, we've got to take some of this off. So we're just gonna get this popped. Two clips here on the sides of the intake. Just pop both of those off. We don't want to lose the little pop-off tabs into the engine. And then that just simply lifts out. So it's not that difficult. Again, it's just the two pops there. Lifts that out, and then you know you've got ample access. So the headlamp is back here. This one with that out of the way, quite honestly, is easier to get to than the driver's side because the battery isn't there. I just had those on. I'm hoping the bulb is cooled off enough here, but pop that out. I'll tell you it's a little warm yet. Again, there's a little clip in here that the wire harness goes into. Undo that and you get more access to the wire. So grab the other bulb out. Easy peasy. New LED goes in. Okay, I'm going to back up. You can, like I did in the other one, you can see through the lens pretty well. Make sure it's in there correct. There it is, like that. Simple. In fact, even with taking the intake pipe thing, director, whatever you want to call it, off, this side was actually easier than the other side. The driver's side is, you don't have to take this piece off. I mean, you can reach right in. But it is tight just because the battery's right there. So, I mean, I could have loosened the battery, I guess, and taken that loose. But that sounds like a lot more work. And it wasn't that bad. So again, the tabs here, we're just gonna push those in. Snap them back down. Good to go. All right. Okay, so the somewhat unscientific test that we're looking at here is I took my wife's Ascent, which is a 22 Ascent, has the LED lights in it, parked it in relation like how it would be to oncoming traffic, and that's should have measured that out, maybe 75-80 feet away roughly. And I can tell you the headlights in my Crosstrek now are brighter, without question. They are not as glaring and not as impactful, even as I walk towards my vehicle, as a lot of the LED cars that I'm seeing on the road that are even somewhat troublesome for me, and are even troublesome in the Ascent, which sits up a little higher. There's definitely vehicles out there that have headlights that are more blinding than these bulbs in these projector lenses on my Crosstrek. So I'm going to do the same drive we did before, but I can tell you right now, these lights are significantly brighter. Really like them. Okay, so here I am again at the end of my driveway and on my road. This is with the Auxito LED lights. I'm going to turn my fogs off initially. Much whiter light. Field of vision doesn't look like it's a whole lot wider, but it is definitely brighter, better illuminated, and much whiter light. So I'm going to turn the corner here. I'm hoping that as I swing the car, the camera will pick up the moonrise, because the moon is gorgeous tonight coming up. So hopefully that camera will pick that up here. So let's go for the little stroll here. Fog lights off. Definitely brighter. Still seems to have a pretty good cutoff. Illuminating down the road to those road signs, but is definitely brighter down, down the, down the roadway. A little, definitely a better throw. So I'm going to turn around here differently to try to catch the moon here on the camera. So I'm going to back into the drive here. I don't know if probably the moon's not even going to show up. Probably will just have to go take a picture of it. Okay, so we're going to turn around and go back. I'm going to hit the fog lights. I mean, the fog lights, they're definitely not helping as much. The field of vision is wider on them. They do provide a little bit more coloring, but boy, they're not, I would say I'm not relying on them nearly as well. Just about took that rabbit out as I was before. So and here's high beams. Yeah, high beams, they get light up further height wise, but these are pretty nice lights. So it'll be interesting to run them now for a few days, see if I get people flashing me or anything like that. But so far, I'm quite pleased with them. All right, so to wrap up here, Auxito LED lights, pretty impressed. I'm definitely gonna leave them in. We're gonna see how they go. They're talking about here, there's an operating life of 50,000 hours on the LED. I noticed in the manual, and honestly, I didn't even look at this before. It's a 24-month warranty on them. So you know, as far as I'm concerned, unless I'm getting a lot of people flashing me on them, they definitely illuminated better, and I'm pretty impressed with them. So, you know, if you're looking at replacing your halogens, you know, so far I'd say give the Auxitos a shot. If I have any significant kind of long-term things, you know, I'll make an update or something. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with them. So thanks for watching. If you're not already, subscribe and follow along, and appreciate it.